Thanks for tuning into Duckbricks. I'm Chris, and it is summer of 2022, and LEGO has just released a brand new wave of LEGO City Stuntz sets. We have brand new loop elements for motorcycles to do crazy stunts with and flips. We have a ton of new motorcycles, as well as a new line of stunt challenge sets, and I'm here to be hands-on with all of them and showcase what it is like to play with all of the new LEGO City Stuntz sets at once. Stunts has been one of my favorite sub-themes of LEGO City since it launched last year, especially because it reminds me of some of the more experimentative stuff that LEGO was doing in the early 2000s with LEGO Racers and the slot car stuff they were doing, as well as stuff like the World Racers and Drone Racers, all sorts of fun kind of wacky racing-like things that all kind of have made their way back into LEGO's portfolio via the LEGO City Stuntz line. And so for this video, we'll be talking about these sets from the largest to the smallest, taking a look at the prices of these sets and how it differs per region. Spoiler alert, don't buy these in the US because they are a lot more expensive in the US than pretty much anywhere else. And of course, taking a look at what it's like to combine all of these sets into one diorama. Let's go. Alright, so here we are with the Fall 2022 assortment of LEGO City Stunt sets. There are several different sets in total, specifically one double loop Stunt Arena, the Smashing Chimpanzee Stunt Loop, Blade Stunt Challenge, Knockdown Stunt Challenge, and Shark Attack Stunt Challenge, as well as 3 different standalone bikes for $8 a piece. So specifically for the purposes of this review, we will be taking a look at each and every single one of these sets individually at first, taking a look at how well these stunt courses are, how they all work and whatnot, and then taking a look at how all these sets work in conjunction with each other. Finally, we will be discussing the value and prices of these sets in the US as well as other regions of the world, and talking about whether or not these sets are worth purchasing. And so, without further ado, let's just jump right into the largest set. This is the Double Loop Stunt Arena. So this is the Double Loop Stunt Arena. It retails for $150 US in the US when it will release on August 1st, and everywhere else in the world it came out on June 1st, retailing for around 130 to 140 euros, which roughly translates to around 147 US. So absolutely a lot cheaper to get overseas rather than the US, but the savings are really only around $18 either way. So first of all, the set includes 2 different large loops, which are brand new pieces introduced for this year's LEGO City Stuntz theme. Obviously, the price per part ratio of these sets are pretty awful, but that's because they are actually introducing these very large new molds. So you do have to factor that in when thinking about value. It also has a slightly smaller jump in the form of a truck, which actually converts into a ramp itself, as well as a bit of a stand here for the motorcycles to run through, plus a flaming loop to run through as well. So obviously the main attraction are these 2 different loops. So let's start off with that. The way they're supposed to work is that they are initially supposed to be set up as 2 different obstacle courses, and in fact, they actually can be run without the loops whatsoever. If you want to just test out how each of the courses works, you can very easily just take off the end pieces, take off the ramp on the end of the loop, and attach the ramp on the start of the course like so. This is actually how they recommend you build it starting off, just so you can test the mechanism by itself. So let's just do that first with the snake one. One thing I do want to note is that this snake one is somewhat reminiscent of some of the LEGO Ninjago 2012 Rise of the Serpent sets. It is using some brand new building techniques. It does not use hinges, it's using some new curved pieces, and actually recoloring the LEGO Nexonite blade piece in transparent orange for the eyes, but for the most part it is very reminiscent of some of the original Ninjago stuff, which is pretty cool to see. To go along with it, we have a snake-themed driver. We will be taking a much closer look at the drivers later on in this video, so stay tuned for that. But the way this works is that he is supposed to run through the mouth of the snake before it closes right as he passes through. So by itself, it's very simple. You rev the bikes up like so, and if you can manage to actually get him through there, he is supposed to go through the passageway. So let's try that one more time at a slightly decreased speed. Just like that. So as you can see, he made it right through the gate of the mouth of the snake, right as it closed, but before it closed on him. So a very fun feature, but obviously this is complicated when we get to the loop. Now, if you watch this year's LEGOCon, you may have actually seen them attempt to demonstrate the loop. I believe they tried it 3-4 times and it just did not work and they gave up. So we're going to try and see if we can do a little bit better than that. I tried this on my own quite a few times, and I will say that despite there being nothing wrong with the pieces themselves, it is very, very difficult to actually get the loop to work. And let's just try it right now and see if I can get it to work on camera. But be warned, there probably will be multiple tries involved. Yeah, so as you can see, a lot of the issues with this run with the fact that the speed of the motorcycle going in has to be a very specific speed. Otherwise, if it's going too fast, it will either just shoot outwards off of the hoop itself and be launched backwards, or if it's going too slow, it just won't even make it up the loop. But most of the time, it's going too fast. You have to kind of hit a sweet middle ground where you're not revving the motorcycles up way too fast, where they just shoot and bounce off of the thing itself, but not too slow that it won't even go up. So let's just try this a few times on camera and see how it goes. Okay, so that time it worked, although unfortunately my aim was off, so as it was going down the curve here, it unfortunately hit the side here, which is very hard to do. It literally just hit the side of the trap and not make it through the mouth. But that was pretty much one of the best takes I've managed to get, so let's just try this one more time. Okay, so as you can see, it's really having some trouble just going through the slot. I think it's the way that specifically you're actually having the angle of attack here. It's just ending up too close to the edge, but let's just try it one more time. Okay, I'm going to consider that one a win. He did get stuck on the mouth of the snake as it was closing, but he actually made it through the loop and all the way out through the mouth, as he was supposed to be. So maybe with a little more speed, he would have made it through, but you get the gist of it. So as you can see, that took many, many tries to actually get right. So this is definitely something that honestly doesn't quite work as well as I thought it would. It definitely requires a lot of accuracy and really trying to line him up directly down the middle to get the motorcycle to go through the hoop here. But such is the way of it. I don't know if there was a way that LEGO could have made it work a little bit better rather than actually making it a full-on track, but having the free-flowing motorcycles just like this going across on their own, this is probably the best it could have done, but it is quite difficult. So let's now take a look at the other loop. Now this loop right here, if we can manage to get this stall to stay on, has a cool feature where specifically the way that it's supposed to work is that once the motorcycle hits this particular Technic bar, the cameraman recording will rotate, and as he rotates, the flames will shoot up. So it does not require as many pieces as the other one, but it is a very fun and satisfying feature nonetheless, and hopefully will be easier to actually get through. To go alongside this particular loop, we have a biker with a specific transparent orange printed visor. Again, we'll be taking a look at some of these great biker designs featuring all new minifig elements at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. But let's just try this out with this bike right now and see how it goes. Okay, perfect, there we go. So as you can see, that went literally perfectly. It went right through the loop and then made it all the way through the flames and ended at the jump here. So that was really great, really cool to see that actually be working capture on camera. But also, as you can see in these sped up footage, that took many, many takes to get right. So they are definitely very finicky to actually work, but when they work, it is very satisfying. And honestly, it kind of adds to the play, in my opinion, by not having it work perfectly every time, because then it makes kids have to try different things and really try to approach the angle differently to get it to work. Also, some motorcycle fairings do work better than others. This one, for instance, is much lighter than this much larger one right here. So this one was a lot harder to get working on the first try, but it definitely does vary from motorcycle to motorcycle. So besides these main loops, they do actually have a few other things included in the set itself. They have some spectators watching from the guidelines, super simple, literally just a platform with a railing here. They also have another minifigure, presumably a stand operator right here. And they have this particular loop, which doesn't really do anything. It's using some orange roller coaster pieces, but the way it works is the loop is here, and the stunt bikers will drive out of the loop to announce themselves just like that. So super simple, just having a fun loop here for the bikes themselves. Now this right here is pretty interesting because this is a vinyl element. It is specifically for flames to be ridden through by a bike. They actually have the cut actually part the flames like so. This is very easy to make work, so you just go like that and make them go through. So super simple function right here, but very satisfying to actually have the bikes go through like that. They don't really get too much airtime as you go through, and sometimes it's harder to get than others, but let's just see if we can get it from a distance here. There you go, he runs right through the flames. So very simple sort of function there, but this is pretty interesting because it's a very strangely shaped monster truck type of build right here. Super simple build, but the way it works is that the back actually does convert into a ramp, and you're specifically supposed to remove the 2x3 tiles on the flame elements here, which allows you to detach the flame ring itself and just attach that to the top of the truck. So essentially making it a mobile flame piece where the bikers will go up the ramp on the back and through the flames. Let's try that out. I'm not so sure. I've never tried this, so we'll see how it goes. Perfect. So as you saw there, it took a couple tries, but the way it was supposed to work is that he goes up the ramp here and just goes right through the flames. A very fun and satisfying play feature. So another thing that they actually recommend that you do with just this set, not even integrating any of the other sets, is to combine the loops. And I'm very, very skeptical on how this will work, especially because the loops already do not work all too well together. But you know what? It's worth a try, so let's just try that out like so. You specifically have the pieces where you can just combine them like so and have a dual loop structure. So the way it's supposed to work is a bike will go into here, loop around one loop, and loop around the other loop and exit. I'm gonna try this a couple times, but I honestly don't have much faith in it working. We'll see if I can even manage to capture it on camera once. Went through one loop. There you go. So that made it right through the loop. So I think the trick with this one was to actually, as you're pushing it, let go right as it's on the loop. Because if you let go while it's moving and then try to make it go forwards, they tend to be a little bit back heavy. So they will tend to tip forwards. The trick with these, again, is to specifically, as you're pushing them, release right at this point when it's already almost up the loop, and that will almost guarantee that it'll make it through. I think, because what I was doing was that I was revving the motorcycles up and then letting go, and as you can see, the issue there is that they fall backwards almost immediately. Because of the immense speed generated by the wheel here, it doesn't actually maintain on the ground, and instead it will just kind of pop a wheelie and go backwards. So that is one big flaw to these bikes, that you can't just kind of let them go and drop them down. If you wanted to do a stunt, you have to let them go alongside the curvature of the thing. Let's try that one more time. Okay, so we got it almost there a couple of times, but you get the gist of it and see how this works. One thing that is a little bit unfortunate about the way that this system was set up is that LEGO seems to have color locked the ramp piece, which is this one right here, to orange, which makes it a little bit awkward in terms of the green color scheme being a very predominant orange piece right here, as well as an orange piece on the front of the snake jaw, but it seems that for whatever reason that piece is color locked, so it is what it is. It does look a little bit strange with the courses here, but of course for the ones that actually have orange in the color scheme, it looks absolutely fine. So it is what it is. It's just something you have to deal with, and if you really wanted to, you could probably line up the specific courses to be something like this, so you could actually have the flames be a part of it, or even have the snake mouth lead directly into this particular loop here. I think it would be very hard to actually make this work, but if you wanted to, you could actually make it happen. So the idea would be the motorcycle would go along here, make it right through the snake bite before it closes, and then make it through this loop, go here, and launch the flames upwards. So a pretty crazy course. I mean, heck, if you wanted to, you could even put this at the end. So really make it go crazy, and this is what the LEGO City Stuntz is all about. It's really about having different modules and trying to connect them to each other to varied success. And I think it's really cool that they try to encourage experimentation. In fact, the back of the instruction manuals specifically encourage builders to try to combine different courses from different sets, which we'll take a look at later in this video. But I think we've spent enough time on the set. I do want to briefly touch on value. $150 is kind of ridiculous for this, to be completely honest. Even 130, 40 euros is pushing it, but 150, I unfortunately really can't recommend getting it. Obviously, there's a lot of fun to be had from the loops, but however, a lot of the price is just going into the dual loops. And thankfully, there is a much cheaper set featuring just one of the loops. So if you do want to try it out, I would recommend getting that one, because as you just saw in the video, it is nearly impossible to get them to go on two loops consecutively in one run anyways, so it almost isn't worth it buying the set just to get two loops, because the rate of success for actually getting it to work is going to be very, very low. If you just want to experiment with the loops, that's what the next set is for, so let's now move on to that one. Next up, we have the second largest set. This is the Smashing Chimpanzee Stunt Loop. In the US, it retails for $70 US, but in Europe, it's only 50 euros, which translates to roughly 58 US. So that's a savings of $19 on a smaller set, which is fantastic. I even think 50 euros is a bit of a stretch for this, but without further ado, let's just jump into how exactly the set works and then talk about value at the end. So pretty much the entire set is just one large loop here, and at the end there is a very small contraption for a smashing chimp. It's pretty interesting because this chimp was actually featured in the LEGO City Adventures TV show last year. I don't know if they made this as a set because the chimp was part of one of the episodes, or if this came first and the set was delayed, but for whatever reason, we are only getting it now in 2022. What's also interesting is that the copyright on the loop pieces is dated back to 2020. Typically, LEGO elements take 1 year to produce before they're released, which is why most of the new parts this year in 2022 are marked 2021. But this was clearly in development for much longer, so it definitely took a lot of tries to get right. And honestly, it isn't perfect, but I think that this is probably the best it could have gotten. So the premise behind this set is that you have a very fun bike here. It's actually in the shape of a plane, so that's a pretty fun design there. You have some spectators right here, just a couple of different spectators with a purple recolor of the Chima gorilla fist to replicate the purple fists of this gorilla. And the way it works is you're supposed to go through the loop and then up the ramp, and once you hit the chimpanzee's head, his arms will smash down, and if you do it with enough force, the walls will actually crumble under the weight of the fist. So let's see if we can get that to happen right now. All right, I'm gonna count that one as a win. As you can see, we went through the loop, kind of skidded on our side, but thanks to the plane wings, we stayed upright. Up the ramp, hit the chimpanzee, and the walls got smashed. So that is pretty much as close to perfect as you can get with this set. Obviously very, very simple, but especially if you're living in a region where the set is not egregiously expensive, it's a great way to test out the loop pieces and see if you want to play around with them for yourself. Now, again, for 50 euros in most regions, I think this is pretty overpriced. 40 is definitely feeling a lot nicer to me, but I do understand that it is using a lot of large new molds, so maybe 45, I would say, dollars. However, $70 in the US for a set like this is ridiculous. I think that it's kind of crazy that LEGO is trying to charge $70 for this very small piece of track in the US. If they included literally another set of loops, like if they had another loop right here, I think maybe it would be close to being worth it. Even so, probably close to 60, 65. But 70 for just one loop and the chimp is really just not great value. Hopefully that this will not mean that LEGO will not think that Stuntz is popular if this doesn't sell well, because Stuntz is a really fun concept for LEGO City, just egregiously expensive specifically in the US. So I would not recommend getting this in the US. However, if you are in Europe or another region where this is cheaper, I would say 50 is not awful for the amount of play you can get out of it. Despite it being a very simple course, you can really just do a lot of fun stuff by having it try to go through the loop here, and the plane bike itself is a very fun concept. With that though, we only have 3 sets left, and each of these 3 sets is very similar. They are a stunt challenge set, so let's talk a little bit about that concept and see how good it works out. So right here we have one of the 3 stunt challenge sets. They retail for 20 euros, aka 21 US dollars, which I think is actually pretty fair. And they also retail for $35 in the US, where in my state that's $38, which I do not think is very fair. So obviously these sets have a pretty crazy price discrepancy from Europe to the US, which we'll talk about a little bit more at the end of this video, but this is definitely feels like it was designed to be a $20 type set. However, it is $35 in the US for pretty much no reason. It really does not warrant that price tag, even if you count the bike as being worth $8 on its own, which is what they're selling these standalone bikes for. The amount of pieces here and the play value you get out of it is much, much closer to a $20 build, not $35. That being said, this is a lot easier to play with than the other sets because thankfully it does not include a loop. So the way it works is that you have the sharks rapidly spinning here, and you're supposed to get your plane driver through and make it the way to the barrels where you'll smash them open to reveal the treasure. So let's give these sharks a good spin and see if we can make it through. Nope, okay. So we were stopped by the sharks there. Maybe we can spin them a little less fast and see how it goes. All right, so there you have it. That was a pretty successful run. We knocked over, surprisingly, only one of the barrels, but you got the treasure, and that is the main point of it. It's pretty cool that LEGO is actually making one of these pirate theme, because Pirates, of course, doesn't have a main theme in LEGO's portfolio right now, so it's cool they're sneaking in nods throughout other sets. It is a fun little diorama, very, very simple. It's literally just some large pieces for the lift arms, and then 2 sharks without printing on them, which is new for LEGO to have these sharks without printing, rotating like so, and you can really get a good spin out of it if you desire. However, the faster the sharks are spinning, the harder it will be to actually get it to work with the bike. So let's just get this spun up. Maybe we can demonstrate it one more time. Like so. Most of the time he will just bounce off the shark. So there is a balance to get, there is some timing to it. It is definitely a fun set to play around with. I certainly think kids would really love to try to set this up and try to figure out what speed they can get the sharks through and how fast they can get the sharks spinning with the motorcycles still going through. It is a very fun set overall, just worth closer to $20 than $35. Again, not sure what is going on with the United States prices of the stunt sets, but it just ain't it. This set right here is the Knockdown Stunt Challenge. It retails for the exact same price in different regions. Again, this is just another one of the Stunt Challenge sets. Funnily enough, the minifigures included are fairly prominent characters from the LEGO City Adventures TV show, specifically Poppy Star on a motorcycle, as well as Handyman Harl Hubbs. I like the inclusion of the pairing of these minifigures here, given that there was an episode that focused on their character dynamics, so great to see these 2 characters being featured in a set together. The way this works is that you specifically have different cakes, so you have cakes that can be mounted up on the top here, and your goal is to get the one with a gold trophy on it and not the other one with a scorpion, so that's kind of a fun detail, and it will just register which one you hit based on your accuracy. So this challenge is fully based on the accuracy of the driver. It's very simple the way it works. You rev your bike up and you try to get yourself the trophy cake. So super easy to do. This one probably is a lot easier than some of the other ones, but it is fun to just see the cakes being knocked backwards towards you, especially if you have the bike going forwards. You can see how many you can try to knock over at once, like so. So it is a fairly simple game, not as involved as some of the other stunt sets, but I do appreciate the larger structure here, and they actually specifically recolored this LEGO Movie 2 star element in glow-in-the-dark, which they did not need to do, but is special for the set. The cake toppings are also glow-in-the-dark 1x1 tiles, and they also recolored the roller coaster straight track element in gunmetal gray. So that is great to see in gunmetal gray right there. Very useful piece for other builders. And lastly, I think it's fantastic that LEGO is reintroducing these cake elements, which typically are exclusive to LEGO Friends sets, in actual LEGO City Line sets and standard LEGO building sets as well. So all in all, this one is a fun set, if not a simple challenge. Again, definitely worth $20, definitely not worth $35. Let's now move on to our final set. Lastly, this set here is the Blade Stunt Challenge, featuring what is probably one of my favorite biker figures from the entire wave, and a nice recolor of the LEGO Ninjago Prime Empire blade piece in transparent blue, where previously it was really only available in trans neon orange and trans neon yellow. This also features the garbage woman right here, the trash collector, and of course the main focus is on the bike itself. So the way this works is that there is a gate here, and your goal is to make it through the gate and make it through here without the blades closing and blocking your path. So the way it works is that you break these and the blades will close very, very quickly. So a fun concept, and certainly will provide a lot of fun playtime for kids who really want to nail the stunt here. Let's now reverse this and see if we can capture it on camera. Okay, so there you go. We only knocked over one of the barriers, but the way it works is that it closed right there and our biker got all the way through. Let's now take a closer look at the bikes at an individual level. So here is the collection of the summer 2022 LEGO City Stuntz motorcycles, all up close and personal. Of course, I do want to start off with the 3 that are actually special sets on their own. This is easily my favorite, and you can probably guess why, but as you can see here, this is a very wacky and funny concept. It is a motorcycle rider in a bathtub with a duck on the side of it, and as you can see, for obvious reasons, this is my favorite, aka Duck Bricks, but I just think this is just a really fun and wacky design in general. The minifigure has an actual duck tattooed on his back, so a very funny and wacky design here, and while it might not be the best looking or working motorcycle, I love this one based on concept alone. So this one easily takes the cake as my personal favorite. Removing the lifeguard vest here, you can actually see he does have a special new print for the front of the torso. Let's just kind of get that removed here with the arms down. But it's just very standard. It's kind of just a plain chest, so I do prefer it with the vest on. And of course, that duck tattoo is amazing, taking up pretty much the entire back of this character. So a very fun character to get in LEGO form, and I just love the motorcycle that comes with. Easily my favorite Stuntz motorcycle they've made. Next up is this one right here. It is introducing a brand new helmet piece for LEGO City Stuntz. Surprisingly enough, this does not appear in LEGO Ninjago, but it feels like it was made for it. It is literally a helmet with horns on the top. I feel like this could have been really useful for the Sons of Garmadon Oni mask line, but this works great as well. As you can see underneath, we have kind of like a wrestler or a luchador face underneath there, which is a cool one to get. And the visor is actually printed with the eyes, which is very interesting. The bike itself, honestly, isn't too interesting to me. It is just the standard red bike piece right here. But what is great is the figure, a great new recolor of the armor piece in the bright green there, and the torso and leg printing is fantastic as well. It is really great that they actually put a lot of effort into the figure for this one, which I do appreciate as one of these specialized bikes. The final specialized bike here is this fairing bike. It has kind of a wolf or coyote type theming to it with a nice metallic silver printing for the moon on the side of the bike. This is the first time we are getting this style of motorcycle in LEGO form, so that is very cool to get. Of course, you can remove the mustache here to see what the face looks like underneath, and he does have an alternate face like so. So a very serious one up front, and then a much happier one on the other side. So all in all, a fun character to get. Maybe not the most interesting one, especially because the fairing piece does appear in a different color for some of the other standard sets, but it is nice to get at a cheaper price point. Moving onwards, LEGO City Stuntz introduced two of these plain style of molds. One is a pirate-themed driver who actually was seen in the initial wave, it driving a larger car instead of the motorcycle. And the other one is this particular character here that is kind of like an aviator type theme. Honestly, I think the spring yellowish green color here is not my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of the way it turned out. I probably would have preferred maybe just a blue plane or some other color. However, the red looks fantastic on this one, and I like that you can actually spin the propellers around. The propellers themselves are detachable indeed, so you can take them off and really plug whatever you want into that space that has the right attachment point. Next up, we have a bike featuring a character from the LEGO City Adventures TV show. This is Poppy Star and her motorcycle, appropriately themed with these star and sparkles here. Just a plain green visor, but she does use the new helmet in a brand new braid mold. This is a brand new element that was introduced for City Stuntz, which is very interesting. Obviously, you can put it on the top of a minifigure head as well, although it does look a little bit strange, so I think it works best as the braid element right here. What is really great about every single one of these is that they actually introduce hair pieces to use for all of the different characters. So if you don't want to display them with the helmets on, it does come with the hair pieces, and some of which are pretty new and interesting, like this one right here, as well as this hair piece in dark brown. Of course, Poppy Star's is this light blue one, which you can swap onto her character should you please. She is wearing a motorcycle version of her standard outfit, which does make a lot of sense, and we can move on to the next character. So this one right here is also another character that uses the braid piece. I really love the way the visor turned out on this one. If you can see, the visor actually is printed, so it is a transparent visor with printing on it. This is personally one of the first times I've seen printing on a transparent visor. I think it's really cool that we actually got that fully printed on. I wish they did something like this for Ninjago's Mr. E, for example, but it is really cool to see in full detail here. Of course, the rest of the figure honestly isn't too interesting to me. Kind of just a plain teal and orange look, but she does have this keyed orange or flame yellowish orange version of the motorbike, the specific motorbike that was introduced in some of the smaller sets, so it's good they actually use the mold for a different set. One of the downsides about these stunt bikes, though, is that unfortunately they try not to have stud connections on the front headlight for some reason, so a lot of times the headlight is just molded in, and frankly just doesn't look that realistic to me to have a very prominent headlight that just is not actually lit up. Moving onwards, we have this snake-themed one. He has a brand new headpiece for the snake kind of theming to go with the largest set. Honestly, not the most interesting character, but I do like the head. It is very nicely printed with the snake mask wrapping around the entirety of the head itself, and it's great to get this collar piece introduced in a warmer yellow, cool yellow color. Lastly, this biker here is from the Blade set. It's probably one of my favorite bikers, if not my favorite one for the entire wave, besides the duck one. The duck one cannot be overseated, but I really love the minifigure design. The bike is just whatever, it's just a standard blue bike, but if you look at this, they have recolored the Praetorian Guard armor in purple, which is the first time it is appearing in this color. If you remove his helmet, the face underneath just screams classic 2000s LEGO racers. Honestly, I feel like this is a direct reference to one of the figures we actually got in Racers. It feels very, very familiar to me for some reason, with the sideburns and the monocle kind of goggle Cyclops type thing going on there. Not really sure if it is supposed to be a reference. I will have to go back and look at my older Racers stuff, but it really does feel like it's harkening back to the older classic style of LEGO building. And I also like that he's using the brand new vibrant yellow, or the vibrant neon yellow color for the torso there, which actually works out really great and is a really great contrast color to the purple itself. All in all, a great figure to get. Love the armor recolor, and really just a standout wave in general for the motorcycles. I am a big fan of the way that pretty much all of these motorcycles turned out. Obviously, some are much more interesting than others, but they all work really well. They really can move. As you saw in the video, you can really get them going, so it is a very nice, a very fun feature. And honestly, final thoughts on these. LEGO, I feel, is missing out on a great money-making opportunity by not doing these for other themes. Imagine a line for Ninjago where all the ninja had matching bikes like this, or even for LEGO Marvel superheroes, or DC, like a Batman bike or a Joker bike and whatnot. This is a great concept for $8 per bike. It's not bad. I would have preferred $6 to $7, but $8's all right for what you get, for the amount of fun you get from these. And I really do think that LEGO is missing out by not making these for other themes and keeping it restricted to city. So hopefully LEGO will release them for different themes in the future, because I would love to see them for Ninjago, for Monkey Kid, for Batman, for DC, for Marvel. All sorts of things have a lot of potential. They could get a lot of opportunity out of just using these bike pieces and rebranding them for different characters. But that's just my thoughts, and we can now wrap up my thoughts on the entire wave. Alright, so now that we've taken a look at each individual set and the bikes themselves, it is time to do what LEGO encourages on the back of the instruction manuals and try to combine all of these sets into one crazy course. For the sake of my sanity, I will be excluding the loop pieces for now and just starting off with all the ones that do not feature loops, and then we'll be putting all the loops together at the end to see what we can do with that. So let's set aside all the loop stuff and see if we can get all the challenge stuff plus the extra pieces of stunt material from the largest set all together in one course. I think that this is a pretty good start line because, of course, it's kind of breaking the barrier to start going through the course. We can just use this loop up forward, so just to kind of add a little bit of an extra detail to the course here. We can probably end with the jump through the flames here, so we'll have to make it all the way through these other courses first. So let's just line them up like so, and these are pretty linear, so you can really just line these up one after another, and they will work out just fine like that. And let's see if there's anything else that we can do. I think that is about it. And now the question is, can we get it to end on this particular ramp here to jump through the flames? So I'm going to scooch everything over by one, and then we will try to capture this entire course on camera. It's always very fun playing around with these stunt sets and seeing what kind of large and crazy course can be created by all of these. Of course, if you want to introduce some of the other older stunt sets from last year, you can very easily do that as well, and that's where you can really start to get creative with what you're doing. For the sake of this video, I'll be using the duck-themed motorcycle right here, of course, which I have to use for duck brakes, and let's see if we can make it all the way through. Okay, so we sort of got it. This one actually knocked over two different cakes. We got the trophy cake and the regular cake, so I'm going to consider that a win. Avoided the scorpion one. Managed to make it through the sharks and past the blades. And that's really what you can do with all these different stunt sets. So a great way to set up the courses, of course, you can do it in completely different orders as well. So just swap out the modules here and move them all around. They're pretty sturdy for the most part. They are made to withstand abuse and play, so you can really kind of go crazy with them and see what you can make with the courses here. Now my question is, can we get a triple loop to work? We already got the double loop working on camera. Let's try to take the triple loops and see if we can make a course out of that. Alright, so we kind of got it to work. I went through this loop twice and this loop once and skipped the last one, but that is probably as close as it'll get. I think I did that so many times, I'm not sure if I'll be able to get it to work. But to be completely honest, I think part of the fun was actually trying again and again to get the loops to work. Definitely did not work quite as well as I expected it to, given that this is one of the premium LEGO products they are putting out this year in 2022, and certainly are charging quite a lot for those brand new loop pieces, but it was very interesting to play around with them, and I'm very curious to see where LEGO City Stuntz goes from here. I love the inclusion of all these different wacky characters as their own brand and their own characters in the City Adventures TV show, as well as having a very unique flair to them in the sets themselves. Not one motorcycle rider feels generic or just kind of like a non-character. Everyone has their own unique style, and as you can see, each one of the individual courses has been themed as well. This certainly is one of the most overpriced waves of LEGO City, unfortunately speaking, but given the functionality of the bikes and the amount of new molds, it is at least somewhat understandable. Alright, so with that, we have basically summed up my thoughts on the summer 2022 wave of LEGO City Stuntz, a smaller selection than last year's, but introducing some very innovative new pieces. Now, do let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of the new loop pieces? Do you like them? Do you dislike them? And if you have them in hands, what do you think of them and what has your experience been? I certainly think that it was a lot harder than I imagined to actually get the loops to work, but when they worked, it was really satisfying. And honestly, because it was harder to get them to work, it honestly was kind of more fun to finally get them to work after many tries, albeit maybe a little bit frustrating for kids. The smaller stunt challenge sets don't really offer anything new in terms of playability, but they are fun little obstacle courses for kids to play with. I just think that the US price is just way too high. $35 for something like this or this or this is way too high, but 20 euros is pretty perfect. So I'm very happy with the European price. The US prices on all of these as a whole really needs to be lowered significantly. Now, I am very curious what LEGO will do with LEGO City Stuntz in the future, if they plan to continue it going forwards and try to introduce new pieces, or if this is pretty much the culmination of stunts. Let me know what you think in the comments below as well, and also let me know if you think this reminds you of some of the early LEGO Racer stuff, especially around the early 2000s when LEGO was doing a lot of experiments with wacky different building techniques and out there ideas. This is kind of reminiscent of the early classic LEGO Racer stuff that a lot of people have grown to love. And so, that about sums up this video. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and stay tuned for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks, and bye-bye for now.